let's see what we have. In terms of marriage, you mentioned that one should be thankful for the spouse you have and not be picky. However, many people have specific criteria for choosing a spouse in order to have compatibility. And this, as some argue, may be the reason why many unmarried Muslims are in our community. How do you balance choosing a good spouse but not being too focused on the criteria? Well, there's no easy formula for this, and in my experience, 90% of the Muslims who are kind of in their 30s or 40s who haven't found the right person, it's not their fault. It's the fault of perhaps parents who haven't helped them out enough or haven't understood them, or it's the fault of masajid, Muslim organizations, older relatives, spiritual guides who've not been able to help these young people find the right sort of person. But sometimes I think also it is because we're too fussy, that we have a long checklist of things that she must be. And I've known people who've insisted, oh, she has to know Ibn Arabi back to front, and she has to be a supermodel, and she has to be a super chef, and she has to be blah blah blah. And usually that's just men expressing their own high opinion of themselves, and they're in trouble, first of all, because they're just going to, if everybody accepted those criteria, most women would never find husbands. And secondly, because when they finally find Miss Perfect, she's going to mess up on something and he'll feel that he's not quite got what he deserves. That's a disaster. I think instead we need to be looking for people who have a kind of basic goodness and humility, not fuss too much about how formally religious people are. We shouldn't say, oh, he's not extremely religious, or we shouldn't say, oh, she's not wearing hijab. What's important is the quality of the soul. And in the longer term, who knows how people will develop. Maybe she will wear the hijab, maybe she won't. These are not the most important things. Most important thing is the sincere, believing male soul with the sincere, believing female soul, hoping to please Allah together and just get along and create a good family and be loving towards their children. But these long checklists, and I'm told you even see them on these Islamic marriage sites. What are your criteria? What are you looking for? Really quite worrying, because in fact a lot of the really excellent Muslim marriages that you see that have lasted for decades are often between people who seem to be very different and incompatible in many ways. It's a subtle thing. It's not something that you can quantify. It's not an academic decision.